I've become a resident here of this estate, Central Hill Estate, part of Lambeth, about 3 years ago. Me and my family moved in. I have two kids, 13 and 16-year-olds, and my wife. We moved into this flat with the idea that we would stay here for longer term. About a year ago, the council already told us that we would have to move out, telling us that our stay here would not be long term. And now recently, we've actually received a Section 21 notice by a limited company that is owned and run by the council. Obviously, I had to react when we received this Section 21 notice. And suddenly we are faced with the possibility of not being able to move anywhere and just practically becoming homeless. And when I called them, the first thing the council employee told me is Lambeth does not own a limited company. The second thing he told me is Lambeth does not rent out houses through a limited company. They would never issue these Section 21 notices. And at that point, I became very angry because I knew he was lying to me. I knew perfectly well. I'd done my research. I knew that Lambeth Council owned Homes for Lambeth Limited 100%, and I know that it's a Lambeth Council company. Yet they are trying to evict us using that front of a company, using private rental laws to get people out of what is practically council stock. And at that point I said, well, something has to be done. We can't let it be that people who come into a place, expect to live there for a long term, rent from a company that is owned by a council, now get evicted using private housing laws to circumvent sort of council regulations. This happened exactly at the moment I lost my job. We tried searching for private accommodation. However, the first response is that I can't because I don't have the salary. I would have to get a guarantor, which is never going to happen. First requests, first offers we put in are simply denied, which put me really in a stressful situation. That's where the stress starts to come in. That's where the fear comes in. When I have to move out, I can't move anywhere because no private landlord will rent to you. And I think I'm not the only one who's in that situation. I've spoken to quite a few HfL tenants, quite a few actually residents of this estate and other estates who are in the same situation. They're being asked and they're being forced by the council to go and look into and accept private rented accommodation or to find houses for themselves. Many of them are vulnerable. Many of them have some form of disability and they can't just step up within a couple of months and go and find something else without support from the council. So there's real issues going on there where the council is less than helpful. And I just want to ask questions to the council why that is. What is going on there? What is the end goal? Well, we're now faced with a threat of homelessness, really. It adds stress, it adds anxiety, it adds us now having to engage with council services, which is all very, very difficult. I cannot see how in a couple of months we would be able to move given our situation. So I think for us it's a very scary moment. It adds a huge amount of anxiety. I've heard stories of residents in this same estate who are being sent to completely different councils, whose kids have to be pulled out of school and put into different schools. To me that's wholly unacceptable. My kids are in an age where changing them of school would be highly disruptive to their life. They have settled in. I'm very fearful what happens if they suddenly have to go into another school. The same for us. We have made our life here. We've made our friends here. We've been living in the community. To leave all that behind and start somewhere else, is that a reasonable thing to ask of people? And I've heard the narrative of the council. I expect the council to say, yes, we are trying to move homeless people into these emptied flats, basically. But that narrative doesn't work when around this estate there are 67 homes empty. There are 67 flats empty within this estate only, and there's multiple estates across the borough of Lambeth. That argument of we need you to move out because we need other people to move in does not work, really. It stands no ground. Otherwise, I would have expected all these 67 homes to be filled, and at that point I would accept, yes, maybe there are other families that need this place more than us. However, many of the people I've spoken to are exactly the type of people that would need these homes. Given my unemployment, I would now be the type of person with two kids that would need a home like this. I can't be expected to just move into a highly expensive private property with a huge deposit when you're unemployed. How are you going to move in there? It's not going to happen. Everybody's going to refuse you. So we would be, and many with us would be the type of people that exactly need these homes. The math doesn't really work, does it? The argument to say that we are doing our best to end homelessness and to fill homes with the needy, where is the evidence? Show me the evidence. What I see around me has absolutely nothing to do with that. There's clearly a different agenda going on than really helping the needy.